The Penguin Lessons was directed by Peter Cattaneo and stars Steve Coogan as Tom Michel, an English teacher who takes a job in Argentina in 1976 during some very divisive times in that area of the world. After he saves a penguin from an oil slick while trying to impress a woman, Michel begins to have awakenings about his own values, while the bond he creates with this penguin helps him reach the community of children he is teaching in a divided country at a pivotal time. This movie was shown at the Toronto Film Festival last year, and is based off of a memoir written by the real Tom Michel. You know how every so often you just want a feel-good story that uplifts you? That's what The Penguin Lessons was for me. It isn't trying to be great or anything, but it is trying to be a sweet story that will leave us smiling as we leave the theater. I'm seeing many inspirations in the design of this story, not the least of which is Dead Poet Society starring Robin Williams. I'm also seeing traces of films such as Turner and Hooch starring Tom Hanks, and even a little bit of Mr. Popper's Penguin starring Jim Carrey. Tom Michel is very jaded at the start of the film, very weary of everything, and just wants to keep his head down and not rock any boats, especially in a city that is under a vicious regime. He has a dry, sarcastic humor, and some of the jokes he makes in this movie are pretty funny. The kids in the classroom don't seem to take it very seriously though, and they just talk out in the classroom and bully one of the kids without much care for the school rules. The headmaster of the school is played by Jonathan Pryce, who I know in recent things as the High Sparrow in Game of Thrones. He appears to be keen on the status quo and has a strict set of rules for each teacher to abide by, one of them being that the main character has to be the coach for rugby, even though he doesn't know anything about rugby, and says that he actively dislikes rugby. So there are some fun moments when Michel brings the penguin back to the campus. There's a scene when the penguin sneaks out while the headmaster and the main character are having a meeting. Steve Coogan does a nice job here playing the world-bitter teacher, but the star of this movie is the penguin named Juan Salvador. The little guy brings joy to everyone he comes into contact with, except for our main character, of course, who wants to try and get him sent to a zoo for half of the time that they are together. Once more people are introduced to our penguin friend, they begin going over to the main character's apartment and having outdoor therapy sessions with the penguin, expressing their woes in their life, and Juan Salvador seems to sit there like a good therapist and makes all of them feel better. There's a subplot with one of the housemaids' granddaughter having rebellious feelings about the regime that is in charge in their city, and how she wants to help invoke change with the civilians who are in unrest because of the dictatorship. We learn through a few reveals in our main character's backstory why he doesn't want to get involved with any of that, and to me this stuff is the weakest part of the film. It wants to introduce the political conflict with the citizens, but wants to keep its light heart as well. And when certain events happen, I didn't feel the emotional weight they wanted me to feel, because we go back to this adorable penguin right after seeing someone get abducted. The movie wanted to only suggest the dark aspects of the civil unrest, but keep the warm feeling, and it comes off as incompatible to me. I would have liked it more if they would have focused on one and not both. And because I had that emotional disconnect, the last sequence of the film didn't have the emotional impact on me that it wanted me to have, because it wanted to give off this lighthearted tone more. After I saw the film I'm Still Here earlier this year, I have a hard time accepting stories about war-torn cities not delivering in the emotional department and only wanting to pay lip service to them. The stuff with the students is right out of cliches we've seen in other teacher movies, but it isn't the central focus as it is in those other movies. So I'm not going to hold it that much against the Penguin Lessons, because the story is more about the full arc of its main character and not just him being a teacher. It's about him learning to be a more caring person of other people's ideals who are less fortunate than he is. I am going to recommend this movie because the performances of Steve Coogan as a straight man with a sassy side, coupled with the adorable penguin, kept bringing a smile to my face throughout the whole film. This is an uplifting movie about the power of friendship and remembering to embrace your youthful side no matter how much older or jaded you get. I say check this movie out. Maybe not in the theaters, but this is a good streaming movie that left a smile on my face as the credits were rolling. I give The Penguin Lessons 3 stars out of 4. It is derivative and probably takes many liberties that go against the memoir it is based off of, but I haven't read that, so I'm not sure. But I still say check it out. Okay, The Penguin Lessons. What are everyone's feelings on this film? I think it's getting a very quiet release on March 27th, so hopefully it gets enough distribution for people to see it if they want to. I got to see it 2 weeks early, and I'm glad that I did. Anyway, if you like this, please like and subscribe. Follow me on social media if you like. And until next time, I am Ghost.